This video is sponsored by Card Trader, a global marketplace where you can buy and sell TCG cards like the Pokemon trading card game. And you can also check out PTCGLstore.com, a great place for you to buy Pokemon TCG code cards. The links will be in the description below. Hey guys, in today's video, I'll be showcasing Archeops from the White Flare expansion set. What makes Archeops really awesome is its ability Ancient Wing. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may devolve one of your opponent's Pokemon by putting the highest stage evolution card on it into your opponent's hand. What makes this great is because this is not an effect of an attack but an ability. So there's pretty much nothing in the game that can stop you from devolving your opponent's Pokemon. Archeops also has the attack Rock Throw. For one fighting and one colorless energy, it deals 100 damage. It might seem underwhelming, but for the most part, if you devolve your opponent's Pokemon, you'll be able to knock out its pre-evolution. While it might seem simple at first, it's actually very difficult to set this guy up. You see, Archeops is no ordinary Pokemon, because it's a fossil Pokemon. You can't just put any ordinary basic Pokemon to set it up. Instead, you'll need the antique Plume fossil, which is considered an item card. In a lot of cases, especially if your opponent has Badoo or Jellicent, when they item lock you, you will not be able to put antique Plume fossil into play at all. And at that point, you might as well just concede because this is just how this standalone deck is built for Archeops, unfortunately. But there are some interesting things about this fossil that you need to know. First, once you put this card into play, it will be considered as a 60 HP basic colorless Pokemon, and your opponent still gets surprised if this is knocked out. Next, it cannot be affected by special conditions, and I actually have a showcase in this video where I ended up winning the game just for using this card. Next, this card cannot retreat, however, you can choose to remove it from play by discarding it at any time during your turn. And finally, it has the built-in Plume Protection ability, which makes it immune to attack damage while it's on the bench. If ever though you are able to set up, and I recommend you set up at least 2 Archeops as much as possible, you may just be able to gatekeep your opponent, preventing them from ever evolving their Pokemon. So my whole plan here is to use Frostlass with the Freezing Shroud ability. Every Pokemon checkup, each Pokemon with abilities, except for Frostlass, will receive 1 damage counter. And I would recommend setting up only 1 Frostlass at a time so that the damage counters you receive will be more manageable. And while your own Pokemon receives damage from Frostlass, we also have Munkidori with Adrenobrain ability. If this Pokemon has a dark energy attached to it, you can transfer up to 3 damage counters from one of your Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon. And then if you can get enough damage on your opponent's Pokemon, you may just be able to knock it out once you devolve it with Archeops ability. And I also have 1 copy of this Maractus. It has the attack corner. For 1 colorless energy, it deals 20 damage, but during your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon cannot retreat. But what makes it good too is its ability Exploding Needles. If this Pokemon is in the active spot and is knocked out by damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, put 6 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. And this actually helps build up the damage counters on the attacking Pokemon so they could evolve it with Archeops and have that potential to knock out its pre-evolution. And as for my spec card, I'll be using Neutralization Zone so that we can prevent any of our opponent's EX or V Pokemon's attacks from damaging any of our non-rule box Pokemon. As for the other cards worth noting, I also have a couple of TM Devolution which can devolve all of your opponent's Pokemon in play. Archeops, in combination with this tool card, you may just be able to completely devolve a stage 2 Pokemon up to its basic stage in a single turn. To help switch between your Archeops, you can attach Air Balloon so that you can reduce its retreat cost by 2, making it possible to use the Devolution ability twice in 1 turn. And the Jet Energy can help as well. When you attach it to one of your bench Pokemon, you switch that Pokemon into your active spot. Next up, we also have Crispin. This can help accelerate 2 energies in 1 turn, and this is also very useful for energizing Archeops and putting another energy on one of your Munkidoris. And finally, just in case we encounter matchups that uses only basic attackers, I have 1 line of Noivern EX, more for its covered flight attack. For 2 colorless energies, it deals 70 damage, and during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from basic Pokemon. This is a great way to wall off your opponent's Pokemon, and in some cases you can just automatically win if your opponent does not have any counters to it. I really tried my best to make a standalone deck for this Archeops, and what I got is actually not half bad. While this build doesn't do too well against matchups that focus only on basic Pokemon as their main attackers, against evolution type matchups, this can be quite annoying to go against. With enough practice and with some good RNG, because you all know how PTCG Live is when it comes to its random generator, you can actually pull off some cool combos with this build. But what do you guys think of this Archeops, and do you guys have any other build suggestions for this card? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Anyways, that's pretty much it. You can find the complete deck list in the description below, and now please enjoy the following gameplay videos showcasing Archeops. Before we get into the video, I have a small request. If you're liking the content I create, please leave a like to this video and please support this channel by subscribing if you haven't already. This is a small click for you, but for me, it means a lot. Thank you so much for all of your support. Alright, let's get right into our first match. I'm going to start this one with Snorunt in the active spot, and I will be going second. My opponent's going to mulligan once, and we're going against Ethan's Typhlosion. Alright, it's an evolution type build that we are going up against, which means we actually might have a chance to win against this matchup. And I'm also happy that we have at least one copy of Plume Fossil in our opening hand. Again, that's very necessary to be able to evolve into our Archeops. And my opponent's going to start with 2 Ethan's Cyndaquil in play. So gauging this matchup, I know they use a lot of Ethan's Adventure Supporter card to search for Ethan's Pokemon, also energies. But normally they just like to discard those to increase Typhlosion's attack. So if they don't have any more of those search support cards, we might actually be able to disrupt them once we start evolving their Pokemon. So now it's our turn. Ooh, we actually drew into another Fossil, which is nice. So now we have 2 lineups of Archeops. For now, I'm just going to use Arven. And I'm just going to grab Buddy Buddy Poffin and TM Evolution. I'm going to hold off on the Noibat, I think, because my opponent probably doesn't use any basic Pokemon. I'm going to get Cleffa and another Snorunt, I think. I'll just sacrifice my active, because if my opponent manages to evolve into Typhlosion, they could just knock out my active, but at least we have a backup to evolve into Frostlass. For now, though, I'm just going to use TM Evolution. I'm going to evolve both my fossils here into our Arkans. Thankfully, we have both in the deck. So now we've evolved into our stage 1. So we're 1 stage away from evolving into our Archeops. We just need to energize it to start attacking as well. And for the meantime, my opponent evolves their Pokemon into Ethan's Quilava. So it has an ability that searches for Ethan's Adventure Support card. And slowly but surely, they're going to start evolving into their Typhlosion. And Typhlosion only requires 1 Fire Energy to attack. And again, its attack depends on how many Ethan's Adventure are on the discard pile. They're going to attack for 40. Okay, we can evolve into Frostlass. I can attach this Fighting Energy, and I'm going to use Iono for now. Okay, nice. We have TM Devolution. I could actually stall for 1 more turn, I think. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that, because we need more time to set up our Archeops anyways. And I'm going to set up my Fessendipity EX, because I'm pretty sure my opponent's just going to knock out my Snorunt. So we're just going to devolve our opponent's Pokemon. So maybe it will require them 2 more turns to evolve into Typhlosion, unless they have Rare Candy. But I'm happy that we drew into Crispin. Ooh, my opponent's going to evolve into Typhlosion, so now they can start attacking for a lot of damage here. But that's okay. We have Crispin. We can fully energize our Pokemon. Also, we have Ultra Ball to evolve into our Archeops. But I think I'm going to take it slow, actually. Even if they knock out my Snorunt in the active, I'm probably just going to use Cleffa to draw into more cards. And then Frostlass can do its thing by putting damage to their Quilava and stuff. Okay, so my opponent's going to take a knockout against our Snorunt. They will take their first prize. Yeah, because if we knock out this Typhlosion, they could just evolve into another one. So I'm going to go for the ultimate disruption, guys. I'm not going to take out 1 Pokemon only, but we're going to take multiple once we fully set up our Archeops. But unfortunately, we only had 1 energy in the deck with Crispin, so we couldn't even attach anything. So we got Monkey Dory. I could just attach Dark Energy, start transferring the damage counters that our own Pokemon receives. And I think I'm going to go for Archeops this time. I'll just evolve. That's fine. I mean, I'm taking a risk. I just hope my opponent doesn't have a boss orders. And I'm going to use Adrena Brain. I think I'm just going to stack the damage on this Quilava for now. I can use Super Rod to recover my energies, because we definitely need those. I'm just going to Grasping Draw. Okay, we got Neutralization Zone, which is not going to be that useful in this matchup. But we have Jet Energy. We have Arven. I could get TM Devolution. We should have 1 more in the deck. I could fully devolve my opponent's Pokemon back to stage, or back to their basic actually. Because this one in the active evolved by means of rare candy. So we can use Archeops' ability to devolve the other one. And then just use TM Devolution to devolve everything else. And that should buy us more time while we continue to knock out their Pokemon slowly. Ooh, they have Iron Bundle. I hate that thing. So they will evolve into another Ethan's Typhlosion. They will put Iron Bundle in play to use Hyper Blower. That will push our Cleffa back to our bench. And I have no choice here, guys. I'm gonna have to sacrifice my Monkey Dory. Because again, you want to maintain both your Archeops lineup. And anyways, you can set up Monkey Dory. We have 2 Crispins in the deck. Hopefully we can set up another Monkey Dory. But it's always good to check whether or not your opponent has evolved by means of rare candy, or if they evolve one stage at a time, because it matters once you put the damage counters. That way you can calculate whether or not they have enough damage. Once you devolve their Pokemon, you will get knocked out. So they have 4 Ethan's Adventure cards in the discard pile already. We should be able to disrupt their hand moving forward. Especially we can use Iono. So they're going to take a knockout against our Monkey Dory. This time I'm going to go for Archeops. You can start devolving their Pokemon and even take a knockout. We got Crispin. Alright, cool. I'm going to go ahead and use Flip the Script. Alright. Not much to go with here. We got a Nest Ball though. I'm going to set up another Monkey Dory. But this time I'm going to use Arven because I need my TM Devolution. And I think I'm going to go with Ultra Ball. That way I can evolve into another Archeops. So I'm going to go with Ancient Wing. I'll devolve this one on the bench because that one evolved from each stage. So I'll just attach this, and then I'm going to use Ultra Ball. I can discard these 2. I can get another Archeops. We can evolve into another one. So now we have 2 copies in play, guys. And we can use 2 Ancient Wing abilities every single turn to devolve our opponent's Pokemon, hopefully preventing them from ever evolving into their Typhlosion. We also have Jet Energy, but I think I'm going to hold off on it. And I'm just going to devolve all my opponent's Pokemon here. And guess what? That's going to put them all back to their basic stage. I can't believe my vision is coming to fruition, guys. That's insane. So now, from this point on, my opponent actually needs rare candy to fully evolve into their Typhlosion and start taking knockouts again. Because if not, again, we have 2 Archeops, and every single turn we could just continue to devolve their Pokemon and just prevent them from ever setting up. So they really need those rare candies. But let's see if my opponent can recover here. Although it's just a matter of time before we start attacking as well, because we did recover some energies and we have Crispin. So we can fully energize Archeops, also put Dark Energy on Monkey Dory, and start transferring those damage counters to our opponent's Pokemon. For now though, my opponent sets up 2 Dunsparce and they will evolve 2 Pokemon into Ethan's Quilava. And this actually leads me to believe they don't have rare candy right now. And this Quilava only has 100 HP, so it's actually an easy knockout for our Archeops. And once we set up our Monkey Dory, we could even take another knockout for the one on the bench. For now though, my opponent is going to stall by bossing our Frostlass in the active, but we don't care. We have Switch and we also have Jet Energy. And they're going to attack with Combustion, dealing 50 damage to our Frostlass. So now it's our turn again. Let's go ahead and use our Crispin. We have exactly 2 different types of energies. So we can attach this to Monkey Dory. And then let's actually use Adrena Brain first. You can take it from Frostlass, transfer it to the Quilava on the bench. We can devolve that, knock it out. So we'll use this Archeops. Ancient Wing. We'll devolve this. And then it will knock out this pre-evolution. Cyndaquil, and we get our first prize. Got another Archeops. We'll take out their Artisan because that helps set up their Dunsparce. So by taking it out, that could prevent them from drawing more cards. And we're just gonna switch this Archeops into the active. And I'm just gonna Rock Throw by knocking out their active Quilava, getting us another prize. So it's just a matter of time before we take all of our prizes, guys. We basically have gate kept our opponent here. They only have one Cyndaquil left in play, and this Victini will soon get knocked out with Frostlass ability, and that will get us another 2 prizes during our turn. So yeah, this is pretty much the strategy for this Archeops. As a standalone, it's actually not half bad, but it really depends on your matchup. So my opponent just passed. Your Victini gets knocked out. We get another prize. Let's attach an energy to another Archeops. Continue to put damage counters to their Cyndaquil. And we're just gonna Rock Throw, knocking out this Dunsparce, getting us another prize. Look at this, guys. Although my opponent was able to have a head start, taking prizes, but we're gonna take all 6 pretty soon. So even if they evolve into Typhlosion, we have another Archeops to devolve and just take care of it. So if they have rare candy, they could take a knockout, but they have 4 prizes remaining. There is no way our opponent can actually win this match. We pretty much win this one. They have rare candy. They will evolve into Typhlosion. My opponent will go out fighting, which is very admirable. They have the energy that they need to attack with Typhlosion. And they're going to go out with a bang. They're going to counter Catcher our Pheasantipity EX. So they're going to get 2 prizes for this. Buddy Blast deals 280 damage, taking a knockout. They'll take 2 prizes, but it's no use. Archeops will be on top in this matchup, guys. So what we're going to do is just use Monkidori's ability to transfer damage counters here. We will use Ancient Wing to devolve, and that will knock out Cyndaquil pre-evolution. We get a prize, and guess what? We will just knock out this Dunsparce and win the game. There you have it, guys. Archeops is pretty awesome. Good game. On to our next match. I'm going to start this one with Cleffa in the active spot. We also have Monkidori. And thankfully, we have at least 1 copy of Antique Plume Fossil in our opening hand. Because again, we'll need that to evolve into Archeops. And my opponent's going to start with Enzurua. So this is an evolution type build. Hopefully we can win this one. So we'll set up Plume Fossil. We can attach the Dark Energy on Monkidori. And we're just going to pass. So Enzurua evolves into Zoroark EX. My opponent could just be using it as their main draw support. But then again, they could also attack with it. They'll set up 2 more Zoruas on their bench. And they're going to attack, dealing 20 damage to our Cleffa. Thankfully, it survived with 10 HP. So now it's our turn. Let's go ahead and use Arven. I'll set up another Plume Fossil, and I'll grab TM Devolution for now. And I recommend having at least 2 lineups of Archeops on your board. I think that's the most optimal for this type of strategy. I'll Adrena Brain the 2 damage counters to their active. And I could use TM Evolution to evolve into Arkin, but with no other support cards in our hand, I think the most practical move here is to just use Grasping Draw. So I'm just going to do that. We draw into 4. We got an Iono, but there's really not much else we could do here to set up. I mean, we have Fighting Energy. For now, though, my opponent evolves their Pokemon into Zoroark EX. They can now start using the trade ability. By discarding 1 card from their hand, they can draw 2. And they will recover the Dark Energy with Night Stretcher, and they will attach it to their active. So they will be able to attack with the Zoroark. But they need to set up another Pokemon on their bench so that they can copy its attack. But my opponent has Secret Box, a spec card. By discarding 3 cards from their hand, they can search their deck for 4 cards. A Stadium, tool card, an item card, and a support card. So they definitely have the means to be able to set up another Pokemon here. Okay, Counter Catcher, Rigid Band, Boss's Orders, and Artisan. So they're going to use Artisan. And they will set up Ents Reshiram. Okay, that's the most practical. And they will use Night Joker to copy Reshiram's attack. And they will deal 170 damage. And that will knock out our Cleffa, getting their first prize. So I'll just pivot into Plume Fossil. I could just remove it from play anytime I want. We got at least Snorunt. And I'll set up Maractus as well. I could trap my opponent's active. Could attach an energy to attack with it, but I think I'm just gonna put it on this Plume Fossil, and I'm gonna use Iono. Okay, we got Serendipity EX, Rare Candy, and Ultra Ball, and we have a switch, so I don't have to sacrifice my Plume Fossil. Such a hassle setting it up, so I'm gonna use Flip the Script. We got Neutralization Zone. All right, that could buy us another turn. I think I'm just gonna use Ultra Ball here. I can discard these 2. I'll get Archeops. But if my opponent has Boss Orders, it's gonna be a waste if they just knock out Archeops. So I'm just gonna put Neutralization Zone in play. Hopefully that buys us a turn. And then we can evolve into Archeops next turn. Hopefully. So my opponent manages to evolve into another Zoroark EX. And they will replace our Stadium with End's Castle. Okay, that was a waste, but at least we tried. So if they knock out Maractus, their attacker will receive 6 damage counters at least. So we can try to devolve it, knock it out. Despite having Rigid Band to decrease the attack damage, it won't matter. It's just gonna get knocked out. So they will use Night Joker to copy Reshiram's attack once again, dealing 170 damage to Maractus. They receive damage counters thanks to its ability. And now we can start attacking with Archeops. So we'll use Rare Candy, Evolve. And I'm gonna use Flip the Script, draw 3. We got Reversal Energy. I have Arven, so I'm gonna go ahead and get an Ultra Ball. I could set up an Arkin. I'll attach Air Balloon here, and I think TM Devolution is gonna be useless against this matchup. Actually, you know what? I'll just get Frostlass. That way, we can start putting damage counters to their Pokemon, especially Zoroark has an ability. So for now, I'm just going to use Ancient Wing, devolve this active. It has enough damage counters that will knock out its pre-evolution. So we got our first prize, thankfully. And I'll attach this. And I'm just going to retreat into Serendipity EX for now, because I can't risk my Archeops being knocked out. But we'll see if my opponent can fully energize. They have Ents PP up. Item card. They have 2 of them. And with Ents Castle giving all of Ents Pokemon 0 retreat cost, they can just easily retreat it. But thankfully, Serendipity EX has enough HP where they will not be able to knock it out with Reshiram's attack. It only deals 170, so we should be able to survive their attack. Ooh, they have a boss's orders and they're gonna target Archeops. Oh no. Wow, that's such a good move actually. It's all because of that trade ability. They just have such a powerful draw, guys. So they knocked out our Archeops. Unfortunately, We don't have a secondary one. I'll just put Pheasantipede EX in the active for now. And all the while, our Frostlass is dealing damage to their Pokemon as well. So we're just gonna flip the script. We got an Arcan at least, so we can still slowly evolve into Archeops, but it's not gonna be useful just yet. Let's see what we could do here. It's not good that they also have their own Monkey Dory. I'm just gonna Adrena Brain damage counters to their Monkey Dory for now. At least they'll be pressured to move damage counters from Monkey Dory instead of from Zoroark. That way it will be easier for us to knock it out once they receive enough damage counters from Frostlass. And we'll just have to devolve it with Archeops. So that's the plan anyways. Hopefully it works out. Ooh, they have Black Belt Training. That increases their attacks by 30. And they're going to continue to move damage counters to Arcan, but that's okay. Do they have enough firepower to actually knock out Pheasantipede EX? 170, 200, yeah. Especially with Frostlass dealing damage to Pheasantipede EX, they can actually take a knockout against our Pheasantipede EX, and that will put them down to just one prize remaining. So my opponent is definitely playing it well here. Can we recover? That's the question. So they're dealing 210 damage. That's crazy. So they knocked out our Pheasantipede EX. They just need one more prize remaining. Let's see what we could do. We got an Archeops. Let's go ahead and use Super Rod. I can recover Pheasantipede EX Maractus, and I'll get the Fighting Energy because that's what we need to attack with Archeops. I'm gonna go ahead and use Adrena Brain. Transfer damage counters to Zoroark in the active. We could Ancient Wing this guy and knock it out. At least we have that taken care of. They'll have to re-energize their other Zoroark EX, and we got an Iono from our prizes, guys. That's insane. That will actually put them down to just one card remaining. Alright. I'm okay with that. We got Pheasantipede EX. We can flip the script for 3. That's crazy. Alright, cool. I'm just gonna use Rock Throw, deal 100 damage to the Zoroark EX. And all the while, Frostlass will deal damage to all of their Pokemon with abilities. So at least that Iono actually saved us from utter defeat there, guys. Ooh. We're gonna use Iono. If they have Dark Energy, they can actually knock out our Snorunt. I regret putting that into play now. They can just take their last prize if they have Dark Energy. Do they have it? Do they have the Dark Energy? Okay, they're gonna retreat into Monkey Dory. And they're gonna use TM Devolution. Okay. That's okay with me, actually. I can just evolve the other one into Frostlass, so they'll have to... That actually helps us out. Can evolve into Archeops again. And I can put Monkey Dory into play. And I'm gonna Ancient Wing this guy, knock it out, so now they don't have any draw support. We'll take another prize. And we got another Plume Fossil. Nice. I could attach the Fighting Energy in case we're down to just one prize as well. I'm gonna go ahead and use Super Rod, recover the Dark Energy, and then we can use Iono. Hopefully we can draw into that Dark Energy. Ooh, we actually do! That's insane! Alright, cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and just transfer these damage to Monkey Dory. We'll transfer more to this guy. And Frostlass will do its thing, and we can use Rock Throw. They have resistance, but thankfully Frostlass will just take care of this active. We'll take another prize. Ooh, we're so close, guys. Can we actually win this one? So this Reshiram has 130 HP. We can transfer 30 damage to it, knock it out with Archeops. We just have to deal with that Monkey Dory. Ooh, they're gonna pass again. Okay. I think we got this, guys. So we have 2 Monkey Dories in play. But we'll need to retain our reversal energy. So we can't knock out their Monkey Dory just yet. So what I'm gonna do is actually just put 2 damage counters to this Monkey Dory. And then we're just gonna use Rock Throw to finish off this Reshiram. And guess what, guys? We'll take another prize. Frostlass will take into effect and knock out this Monkey Dory, and we'll get our last prize. There it is. Dude, that was actually a good comeback. Good game. Moving on to our third and final match. This is actually one of my preliminary builds. I still have Badu here, which I traded for Maractus. And I think Maractus is better. And I also have Zoroark's Machinations, because my thought process was, since we are devolving our opponent's Pokemon, of course they have to put that card back into their hand. And we just have to force them to discard their cards until they only have 3 left. Maybe that will prevent them from evolving their Pokemon again. So I thought it was very disruptive, but I just scrapped it all together since I just wasn't using that combo in a lot of the games that I played. So I just opted for more consistency because it's already hard as it is to evolve into Archeops. But everything else in this deck is pretty much the same. And I just wanted to showcase this matchup because I thought it was really funny and interesting, as you'll see in this game. So my opponent's using Team Rocket's Venture Bomb to deal damage counters. They also have Brute Bonnet to deal poison damage. And they have Iron Valiant EX with the Tachyon Bits ability. Each time they put that in the active spot or once per turn, they can put 2 damage counters to one of our Pokemon. So a lot of our opponent's Pokemon here are actually basic. So we could make good use of Noivern EX in this matchup. So my opponent switches their Iron Valiant in the active. They put damage counters on Badu. They take a knockout. They will take their first prize. And I will just pivot into our Plume Fossil in the active spot, hoping that it will survive another turn. So my opponent uses Carmen. They will draw 5 cards. And what is this interesting card that they are using? Well, let's find out. This is Delivery Drone. You flip 2 coins. If both of them are heads, you can search your deck for any one card. So it's a very powerful card, just very unreliable, basically. Flip 2 heads in a row. And this is the most interesting part. I actually didn't realize that the Plume Fossil was immune to special conditions. So my opponent tried to poison it with Brute Bonnet, and it just received no... it wasn't affected by it. So this whole time, our Plume Fossil actually became really useful for a change, and I just never expected it to be this useful against this type of matchup. It's very specific, but still very useful, I thought. So I'm going to use Zoroark's Machinations, force my opponent to discard cards from their hand until they only have 3 left. And since majority of our opponent's Pokemon are basic, Archeops is basically going to be very useless in this matchup. So I'm just going to attach an energy, switch it into the active, end my turn. Although Archeops is not going to be as useful, we could still try and attack with it if we need to. But we need to set up our Frostlass because majority of their Pokemon actually have abilities. So we could try to just knock them out with Monkey Dory and Frostlass. So another Iron Valiant EX comes into play. They'll put 2 damage counters on our Snorunt. They have another switch. Go for their second Tachyon Bits to put 2 more damage on our Snorunt. So 1 more, it will get knocked out. And we got a Frostlass. Alright, I'll take that. So we can evolve this. And then we can use Iono. And we got another Monkey Dory and the Dark Energy that we actually needed. So we can start transferring these damage counters. So I'm fairly confident against this matchup. We can just keep transferring damage counters to our opponent's Pokemon every time they put damage counters with Iron Valiant. For now, I'm just gonna set up my Cleffa. We can switch it into the active, because again, Plume Fossil cannot retreat. It's either you discard it, remove it from play, especially coming from the active spot. So thankfully we had that switch. We drew into more cards with Cleffa. And eventually we'll have to set up our Noibat. We can start attacking, and then I don't know if my opponent has any basic Pokemon attackers, but because majority of what they're using are just abilities and just dealing damage counters and poison. So they also have Perilous Jungle, which increases the poison damage by 2 more poison damage every Pokemon checkup to non-dark type Pokemon. So at the end of this turn, our Cleffa will get knocked out because of poison. So my opponent continues to relentlessly put damage counters with Tachyon Bits. They knock out our Cleffa. Our other Plume Fossil is at the brink of being knocked out. Again, our opponent can actually take a prize for knocking those out. I'm going to use Arven to get Earthen Vessel to get more energies. And I'm going to get Air Balloon. So we can put 1 more Dark Energy to our other Munkidori. And we can start transferring these damage counters. And I'll target their Petron for now. And then at the end of this turn, that should get knocked out with Frostlass. And I'm going to start to set up my Noivern EX lineup. So we take 1 prize from their Petron. And it's just a matter of time before we start taking knockouts against their 2 prizers as well. So having 2 Munkidoris in play is actually pretty useful. And Plume Fossil in the active to negate their poison damage is actually very, very useful. So Antique Plume Fossil is very useful in certain matchups, guys. So take advantage of it. But right now, my opponent used Jet Energy to switch out their other Valiant. And they will take a knockout against our Plume Fossil. They will take another prize. And they will end their turn. Okay. So, we got Neutralization Zone. I could take out their Perilous Jungle. But for now, I'm just going to use Adrena Brain. I'm going to focus on their Squawkabilly EX. It has less HP. So we can take 2 prizes easily this way. And then we'll play Neutralization Zone. I'll attach an energy on Noibat. Put Air Balloon here. And Air Balloon here. And we're just going to use Iono. So that will put my opponent's cards down to just 3. And we're just going to end our turn. So unfortunately, Plume Fossil also has an ability. So it is receiving damage from our Frostlass. But they'll take 2 Iron Valiants to knock it out if they want to focus on that. Which I think they will. And they're going to end their turn. And Frostlass takes care of our Plume Fossil. So they take another prize. They need 2 more prizes. Okay, we got Jet Energy. I'm going to use Arven to get Ultra Ball. We can get our Noivern EX. And then we can use TM Evolution. That's really not necessarily, but we could just use it as like a fodder for our Ultra Ball. So we'll just transfer damage counters to Squawkabilly EX. I'll put more on their Latias EX. We'll get our Noivern EX. Can attach this energy, retreat. And we're going to deal 70 damage with Covert Flight. So attack damage will not affect Noivern EX. However, the damage counters will, as well as the poison damage. So we are still susceptible or we can get affected by damage this Noivern EX, but at least we can tank a lot more hits. We have 260 HP and no ability, so we're not affected by Frost Blast at all. So it's just a matter of time before we can start taking knockouts on their 2 prizers. They did replace our neutralization zone. They got Tails from their Team Rocket's Venture Bomb, so they are receiving damage instead of us. And there goes another Tails. So that will make it easier for us to actually knock out this Iron Valiant. It's a double-edged sword because it's either it affects your Pokemon or your opponents, but they have received more damage than we have. And at this point, the damage counters that they spread, it's fine. We could just keep transferring them. And we could just take all 3 pretty soon. And my opponent concedes, I'll take it. Alright, good game. And that's it for the video. Thank you all so much for watching the Popsicleknight channel. And until next time, please stay safe and have a great day.